This episode of the AniQuest podcast was originally recorded in September of 2015. We apologize for any inconsistencies in relation to later episodes. Please enjoy.
Greetings, everyone, and after 1 week's worth of absence, we welcome you to another exciting episode of the AniQuest podcast. I am your host, Otaku Nate Milbank, and I am joined, as always, by my co-hosts.
Greetings, everybody. This is Dan the Man.
And Andrew.
And Sarah.
And Chris.
And tonight, we are going to be doing something a little different. We are going to be doing our first group review. We are going to be talking about a show from the spring 2015 season. A show by Studio Madhouse called Death Parade. Anyway, a fair warning though, this review may contain some spoilers, so if you have not seen Death Parade all the way through, I recommend you go do that right now. But we'll try to keep this as spoiler-free as possible for now. Let's start off the show the way we always do, and that's with the question, what are we all watching?
Okay, so past couple weeks has been kind of hectic for me personally, but I have been catching up on some anime. I actually been catching up on Monogatari. I'm just a few episodes behind, but I was at a marathon, like, episodes 10 through, 14, and I got a couple more episodes to catch up for this week, but so far it's been really good. I still like the show a lot. It's getting a little more darker and a little bit more deeper, and hopefully, the show continues to be as good as always. I don't know, has anybody been following Ora Monogatari or My Love Story?
I haven't, but I've heard good things about it.
I haven't, but I may have to because it's by Madhouse, and I love Studio Madhouse.
I don't know what is it about it, but like I said, I keep saying the main character has some of the best facial expressions, and he continues to do that throughout this whole series. Like, he is like a goofy-looking character, but he looks like somebody out of Cromartie High School. I kid you not. He represents something like that, but it's still funny, it's still sweet. It's still a lovable show, and I mean, from my past episodes, I talk about it and continue praising it. So, and I'm on episode 15, and there's a little more drama now to the show. They're actually getting a little deeper, and it's good. I like it. So, hope it continues to be good, and continues to be an excellent show. And if it does become if it ending really well, I might pick it up when it comes released by Sentai Filmworks in the future. Another show I am watching. See, I decided to continue watching through my backlogs of shows. Other shows I've been watching is I actually rewatched Windy Tales. I'm actually going to pick that up on DVD because I'm so glad that got released again. Got released because that was a show that no one's ever seen. Has anybody seen it?
No.
I saw the artwork and I thought to myself, this is the show for me.
If you like the art house style shows, I kid you not, like it's a good slice of life dramedy show, and it's an artistic show. Like, if you can be open minded about the art style, I recommend it. It's still as good as I remember it from like years ago. When I first saw it back in 2005, it's still a great show. And I'm just so amazed that Sentai got the rights to it and just released it, which, go pick it up if you have a chance. Windy Tales?
Just another reason why I like them more than Funimation.
Yeah. It's a shame. It's a good one. And then, non-anime-wise, we were talking about earlier about old TV shows. I've actually been watching a little show from the 1970s. It's called, I don't know, anybody heard of a show called Soap?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
You know what?
It
sounds familiar. Isn't that the show that's a parody of soap operas?
Yes, it's a parody of soap operas. It has a lot of big names on that show. Billy Crystal was on it. He plays a openly gay guy on the show, and for its time, it was very edgy because they use a lot of, I'm surprised by some of the terms they use in that show because they really talk about, like, homosexuality. They talk about transgender. They really open up a lot, and especially for a show that came out in the late 70s. That was pretty edgy for its time. Like, you never would hear that on TV. And then there's another character named Benson, who, we're just, of course later on got a spin-off show, but he's a butler. He's pretty much a smart, like a wise-ass butler, and most people might not know him, but he is actually, is anybody familiar with the, who was his name? Hold on. I'm looking it up really quick. His name is Benson. Let's see. Benson is Robert Guillermo.
Robert Guillem.
Guillem. Sorry, I cannot say names. And most people might not recognize him, but he was the most famous for doing the voice of Rafiki from The Lion King.
Oh.
That was him?
That's him.
I thought it was someone else.
Nope, it's him. He also was on a short-lived show. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was called Sports Night. He played Isaac Jaffe.
Doesn't ring any bells.
It's one of those 90s or late 90s shows that was really good. But I'm just getting through season 1 right now. The show is just, it kind of reminds me a lot like Arrested Development. I don't know if you guys ever seen that show. Its humor is very offbeat, very straightforward, and it's just crazy. Like, it's a really good show. Like, it's just kind of hilarious. Also, the announcer is anybody familiar with the name Rod Roddy?
Yes, from The Price is Right.
Yep, he is the announcer and narrator of the show. So yeah, it sounds like a young version. I'm like, that sounds familiar. And it's like, it's Rod Roddy. Yeah, he's the narrator in the opening. He always introduces the show, but that's him, and he always comes up with the most bizarre ways of doing dialogue. It's funny, and I got the show. I picked it up on a whim. I actually went to Fry's Electronics Store. I picked up the complete series, all 90 episodes. And that's 4 seasons for about $22. I'd say that's a pretty good steal.
That's really cheap. That's great.
Yeah, I was happy, and I'm just getting through season 2. I just got through season 1. I'm just going to go through season 2 right now, and it just gets crazy. This whole show is just funny. Like, it also has the show's created by, I don't know if you're Susan Harris. She's very famous for creating The Golden Girls and Empty Nest. She actually is one of her earlier shows that she did. So I like it. It's just for ahead of its time. But again, you can never make a show like it is nowadays because you couldn't use some of the racial slurs and kind of derogatory names they say in that show. But for its time, it's pretty edgy.
Politically correct.
What's that? Yeah, politically correct. Exactly. But it's good. So that's what I've been doing these past couple weeks.
All right, Sarah, what have you been watching?
First I finished Kuroko's Basketball Season 3. Which I was a little bit disappointed with this season, I gotta be honest. Just because, I understand it's a sports anime, so you have to spend a lot of time with the basketball, but there was so much time spent in games, besides that one, little flashback arc, that I felt like you weren't spending as much time with these characters and getting to know them. I guess you have been getting to know them for, 3 seasons, but with the introduction of newer characters, it just felt like they could have maybe developed them a little bit more. And I continued with Renee. Not really much to say about that. I started Bleach.
Why?
Why?
Because I've made it a point to at least try all of the big 3, just because. And so I just finished the 2nd season before starting this recording.
Why?
I will say, I think Bleach is probably the better out of the ones I've seen.
I'm enjoying it. It's not the best show ever, but I'm just enjoying it for what it is. And one of the big reasons that I started watching it is because I've heard so many people tell me that it's just a big ripoff of Yu Yu Hakusho. This is my favorite anime.
I don't see it.
I kind of do.
It's got similar things.
Yeah, just in how you've got this kind of delinquent guy who gets these powers, and then you've got this whole kind of demon realm kind of thing, and I haven't gotten that far into it. Cause I'm only 40 episodes in, but apparently there's entire arcs completely ripped out of Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh, there's oogles and doodles of filler in that show. Ugh.
And also, now that I'm watching Renee, I see a lot of similarities between that and Bleach. you know, how you got this redhead teenager who's essentially a Grim Reaper. Other than that, I started Carnival, and I'm like 10 episodes into that, and I gotta be honest, I started watching that because I thought it was gonna be a yaoi. So, that part's a little disappointing. It's more implied, but other than that, I'm still really enjoying it. I mean, it looks awesome. I'm getting kind of sick of the main character's, well, one of the main character's things that he's like, he can't be around like anything that's overly girly or like emotional, and he has to keep his macho appearance, and just like, I'll get over it. I noticed that Digimon Frontier was on Crunchyroll, and I watched like one episode of that. Terrible, but just for nostalgia purposes, and that's it.
Awesome.
Alrighty, Chris, what have you been watching?
So yeah, I haven't had much time to watch too much of anything. I started 2 different series. They both, they kind of have like a similar brand of humor to them. I started watching, Hayate the Combat Butler.
Oh.
And I also started watching, Watamote.
Oh.
Mm.
I've been wanting to watch Watamote for a while.
Chris, tell us your thoughts on it.
I personally thought that it was really funny. Like, there's some, like, parody humor, like, within the first 2 episodes that I've seen. It's somewhat similar in Hayate the Combat Butler. There's some, like, self-referencing to other shows and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty funny. Like, my sister and I started watching it together, and we kind of, like, started making jokes about it because she, like, had, like, a slight form of, like, I guess, like, social anxiety when she started high school and everything, so we were kind of, like, drawing parallels between ourselves and the characters, and I thought it was really fun, and I thought the animation was really well done, and so was, like, the direction of, like, the different camera angles that they took. Like, they could do, like, aerial views and, like, side views and things like that, and I thought it was, really well put together, in those regards. Like, there haven't really been too many characters introduced, aside from, like, the lead, like, protagonist and like her younger brother and like another character or two, but so far I'm actually really enjoying that Watamote. And Hayate the Combat Butler, I mean, it's like funny, but there's like so far there's not too much depth to it, which I mean, I'm more of a thinking type anime person, but I'm watching it because it's really funny and it's entertaining, so those are the 2 main shows that I started, and I haven't really been keeping up with all the other stuff in my backlog. But I did finish one show that I started watching like a while ago, and it was Cyber Team and
Okay. Please testify.
The crass, crude animation, the underdeveloped characters, the just strange aesthetic that the whole show has going on, just all these conflicting things that are going against it. I ended up liking it.
What?
Like, later on, there are some plot developments with the, like, jumbled story that's going on, and they try to, like, spew out this whole, like, convoluted mythology behind everything that's happened since the first episode, and it's so bad that it's actually kind of good, and there's, like, a kind of, like, a heartwarming episode later on, but it's, like, so generic and, like, almost, like, a parody of, like, magical girl shows with, like, pet-type little digital pets and stuff like that. Like, it was so crass, and I mean, it's, at best, it's average at best, but it was entertainment value for me. It was, like, a popcorn show for me. Like, it was okay. And those are the main things that I've been watching this last couple weeks, and that's it.
Alright, Andrew, what have you been watching?
I continued my seasonal stuff, which is down to 19 shows now. I continue with Monster Girls. Well, that's actually 3 episodes since last episode I got to talk about it. They introduced a slime girl, a mermaid, and had a plot development. It's okay. It's not like I didn't see any of this coming because I've been reading the manga for a while. Then there was Seiyu's Life. They're idols now. And also something I haven't mentioned is that usually in each episode, in the ED, they will actually cover another anime song. My Japanese isn't too good, but I was able to recognize that they were covering a song from Sailor Moon Crystal because they said it outright, saying what it was from, which was kind of interesting. It's the first one that I had recognized. If I had actually watched the ending in the first episode, they would have done a cover of Cruel Angel's Thesis from Evangelion too, but I didn't watch that one. Another interesting is they're actually bringing in real voice actors to play themselves. For example, Ui Hiore, I think I've said her name right.
Yui Horie.
Yeah, that's it. They bring her in, it's like, the main character's like, oh, she's gonna be so pretty, and she walks out, she has bedhead and is wearing super thick glasses. And I thought it was doing a really good job of de-glamorizing acting, how you won't always have money. Like, one of the characters actually lost power to her apartment because she couldn't pay the bills. But yeah, I'm still enjoying that show. It's pretty interesting for me anyway, because voice acting interests me. Then came Sky Wizards. I don't remember the rest of the title of that show. It's been the same. But I think I actually just watching it because I enjoy how bad it is, I think. Compared to, I've actually dropped better shows which weren't interesting me because they're mediocre.
Oh, what show is this?
The one I'm watching right now or the one I dropped?
The bad show you said.
Sky Wizards Academy, I think.
Yes, Funimation's giving that a dub.
Why?
Because wizards and fairy tales, what's making them money?
But it's technology, science fiction wizards. There's literally a gunblade from Final Fantasy VIII. I don't want to think about that show too much. Then I watched Himoto Umaru-chan. It was actually moved one of the weeks because sports. One of the episodes was actually about a fighting game tournament, which was kind of interesting. And now they've actually established all the main characters, so hopefully it should be getting better, because without any of the other main characters to bounce off of, our main character is kind of pointless. And after that was School Live, which looks like it's going to have a 3-parter backstory on one of the main characters, which I can't talk about too much because of entering spoilers. Then Ranpo Kisen, Game of La Place, had a pretty dark episode, and then they had a actually decently funny episode. Doesn't really advance the story, but it is good at balancing out how dark the previous episode was. Then there's Danchi Guy, which is another short show. Its only purpose is to be cute, and it's doing that well. And then after that, I had a student. My wife is the president of the student council, I think is the English title. First episode was all drama between main character and the waifu, because she saw at the end of the episode before that she saw him come out of a love hotel while someone announced that he had taken shelter from the rain and drama ensued. The next episode introduced her mom, who was a lolly. And it's exactly what you think it would be. After that was Gate, which had a 2-parter episode, which was almost exactly Helm's Deep from Lord of the Rings. Almost shot by shot, like a person that's introduced for like 5 minutes then dying. After that was Food Wars, which had a nice 2-parter. The food still looks really good. It's amazing. And then there's Fairy Tail. I have an issue with this episode because there's a pacing issue in the manga at this point. I was hoping they'd fix it in the anime, and they didn't. Which is rather unfortunate. After that, Our Hover Cross Machine Gun, which I've noticed now at this point is, I'm pretty sure it might be Fujoshi Big, just looking at how prettily the guys are drawn, and some of the relationships between some of them are set up. After that was Charlotte, which is starting to ramp up. Hopefully it's going to be getting good too. It's probably going to be hitting this is probably Rising Action if you're like in English class now. After that would be a Boy in World Without Dirty Jokes. Character's character totally did a 180 these last 2 episodes, and apparently got the attention of Japanese censorship or something.
BPO,
The BOP, I think?
the Broadcasting Ethics and Program Improvement Organization.
BPO, yeah. Yeah, these last 2 episodes, I can see why that got their attention, because if this was slightly more uncensored, it would all basically be a hentai with a story. After that was, I decided to drop Roku no Yusha, or The Braves of the Seven Flowers, or something, because it just wasn't interesting me. Even though I think it's gone down to the extended on hold area of my anime list, which means it gets attention after I finish my entire 96 plan to watch backlog. After that was Arslan, which is moving the story back to the main country. I'm still really enjoying that show. I should probably watch some of the older OVAs to see what they're like. After that was Wakako Zake, which is another really short show, which is just about a person going out to eat every day and the different food she eats. And the food looks good there too. Last one was Venus Project. I skipped all the recent episodes because they're all weird live-action auto stuff, and apparently next week is going to be the anime episodes are coming back. And that's everything.
Alright. Well, I finally finished Parasite the Maximum, which was excellent. If I have any complaints about Parasite, it's that the animation kind of lacked that rough around the edges look from the manga, but I'll let it slide in this case. As it stands, though, Parasite is one of the best anime that came out in 2014 and the first part of 2015, if I'm right on my dates. It borrows heavily. I noticed that, like Terraformars, which is a manga that I love, even though I know it's extremely stupid, it borrows a lot from old B-movies, namely Invasion of the Body Snatchers, Not of This Earth, and John Carpenter's The Thing, wherein you have a race of aliens who invade Earth, yet they can disguise themselves as human beings. But what's interesting is that the alien threat are intelligent and capable of speech, and whereas most villains, like, say, the Titans from Attack on Titan, they're pretty much just giant walls that are devoid of any charisma or development. What I liked about Parasite was that it actually took its time to develop the threat, because when you first see the parasites, they're these giant menacing creatures who are barely human, but by the end of the show, their character takes a completely different turn, and I loved that they did that, although I must say that the show talks a lot about humanity's relationship with nature and humans' relationship with the environment, and can humans and parasites coexist, and it's done in a very nice manner, although every time I hear them talk about humanity, I couldn't help but flash back to the old Garzy's Wing, "He's just a human! Humans are just human!" God, I love that line. As for what I'm watching lately... As for what I'm watching lately, I'm watching Airmaster, which is a fighting show, only unlike Ikitosen or Makenki, it does not suck. The one thing I really enjoy about it is that it's got a very nice sense of awareness. Like, it knows that it's a fighting show and nothing more, and it has a great main female character. Ai Kawamaki is a badass through and through, but she also has an aloof and carefree side to her, making her ultimately human. She kicks ass, but she also loses a few times. That helps develop her character a lot. The cast itself is great, and it has one of the most insane female characters you will ever see who is not a yandere. Believe me when I say that Sakiyama Kaori is awesome. And the last thing that I'm watching is that I'm trying to finish up Armored Trooper Votoms. I'm almost at the end of the Desert Planet Sunsa arc that encompasses, I believe, episodes 27 to 39. Meaning that I've only got one more arc to go, the Jungle Planet Quent. It's a really good real robot show, and it's sort of like Gundam's little brother, Only whereas Gundam had its sillier moments, Votoms is almost deadpan serious. It's grittier. It's a little darker than Gundam at times. In fact, the episodes I watched featured a woman who is trying to kill our main character, Kiriko Cuvier, because his troop, the Red Shoulders, destroyed her village, and she wants to enact revenge on him just because he associated with that group. And it's a great series, and also the main character, Kiriko, is a badass through the end. He's one of the best mecha pilots, if not the best mecha pilot to ever exist in the world of anime, and that's it for me, so let's get on with our subject. So, as I said in the intro, we are talking about Death Parade. It is a 12-episode TV series that was done by Studio Madhouse, came out in spring of this year, 2015. It actually started its life out as a pilot episode for an anime block called Anime Mirai. That was a block of anime made for up-and-coming animators to show off their ideas in their various works. Several films were produced. I have not seen all of them. I know Little Witch Academia was a part of it. But Death Billiards was one of the few that actually got its own series. So, a fair warning here. I normally have no problem with giving away the premise to an anime, be it Attack on Titan, Kill la Kill, or any of the super popular stuff, but Death Parade is a show that I don't really feel comfortable giving you the premise to, because it kind of spoils what makes the show so intriguing. So, skip ahead a few minutes to the point where we talk about what made the show so great, so that you don't get spoiled on the premise. The premise is that Death Parade takes place at some time in the afterlife. Some people assume it's purgatory, some say that it's a metaphor for the pearly gates, whatever, it's all up to you. It takes place in an area known only as the Quindecim. It is a bar that is tended to by this mysterious white-haired man by the name of Decim. When people arrive at the Quindecim, they are judged based on their actions. How are they judged? Are their memories evaluated? Do they take a simple Q&A test? No. They play a game. A pub game. Like, darts or shuffleboard or billiards, as mentioned with the pilot film. But oftentimes, these games have a twist to them. And it involves them taking either physical or mental pain in order for them to retrieve their memories. Because when they arrive at the Quindecim, they have no memories as to how they got there. So playing these games helps unveil their memories, and once the game is finished, they are judged in their finality by Decim. So before we get into discussion, I would like to ask all of you, what were your initial impressions of the show?
Well, before I see the TV show, I saw the film Death Billiards, and when that came out a couple of years ago, I really liked it. I wanted to know more. I was really happy when I found out that this became a TV show. And it got the same atmosphere, the mysteries, the psychological thriller kind of feel to it, that I wanted to know the mysteries of this afterworld. And the movie was a great build-up for that, and a little short little anime, Death Billiards, but Death Parade, it just brought out more that I wanted to see. I was really impressed. It continued showing us the more of that world. I mean, after the show ended, I kind of wanted to know a little bit more, too. I mean, it gave me a little bit more explanation, but I was grasping for more. But it was a great premise. It made sense. It wasn't like, it kept it coherent. And I liked how it referred back to Death Billiards at times. And I was very impressed.
All right, Sarah, your initial impressions.
Well, my impressions of the series was that, it has an amazing ability at being concise. I mean, it has an episodic structure, so of course there's going to be these characters that you meet in one episode and they're completely gone in the next. But you learn so much about these people in such a short amount of time. And I think that that alone is what made me enjoy the series so much. And I think that that's why it is just so successful in everything it's trying to do.
Chris, your thoughts?
I had no prior knowledge to the series going in. I had heard of it and had heard of Death Billiards before, but I'd never actively sought it out or anything. This is actually the first series that I've streamed from start to finish for this review. And I have to say, the first episode, I wasn't completely pulled in. I thought it was just a little generic, but I will say that one thing I really, really enjoyed about this series is that it built upon itself really well from the first episode all the way to the last episode. I felt like each episode it got consecutively better. It added more to the world that these characters inhabit. You got to learn more about the episodic characters and the main cast as well, and it was got a lot darker and engrossing, and I really liked it from a pacing standpoint. And the animation's really good, and I really ended up enjoying it a lot.
Alrighty, Andrew, your thoughts?
I watched this as it aired. Originally, I wasn't going to watch it in the season it aired because, I'd read the premise on AniChart and it didn't seem to interest me. But then, the day it aired, I saw Twitter was exploding with how, oh, this show is so good, you should watch. It's okay, I usually don't see this much explosion, especially from the main reason I saw was Zach from Anime News Network was going on about how he was the show was exciting him, and I know how hard he normally is on shows. And this is if this is making him say that, I should probably give this a try. So at 11 o'clock or something at night, I went and watched the first episode, and it was good. I liked it. The first episode did come off a bit sawy, but I never had that feeling again the rest of the show.
Alrighty, and I guess I should give my initial impressions. I had to watch this as part of an assignment for another podcast that shall remain nameless, but I had to watch this along with Assassination Classroom and Tokyo Ghoul Route A. While Assassination Classroom is something that I hope to revisit, and Tokyo Ghoul Route A didn't really hold my attention, mostly because it was a sequel to something that I had not seen, Death Parade I instantly wanted to know more about. The first episode, Andrew, I will agree with you, it did feel like something out of Saw, or, as I like to compare it to, Dead Man Wonderland, or early season Yu-Gi-Oh! Where
the card game can actually hurt them?
Yeah, when they were playing the Shadow games.
Mm-hmm.
But the emotional intensity is what drew me into the show, and I instantly wanted to know more about what was up with this series. And I followed it all the way to the end. I watched the final 3 episodes in one night, and I thought, damn, that was a really, really good show. Oh, and I'll discuss what I liked about it, but as of now, I think we should just go around and talking about what made Death Parade so enjoyable for all of us. Okay, so we've got the premise and our initial impressions out of the way. Now let's talk about the stuff that we like, and I'm pretty sure we'll be taking several turns on this, so as usual, Daniel, you go first.
Okay, several things I really liked about the show was I did one thing I really liked was I liked how they showed the different games. I like how they produced different characters. Each character in every episode was different from one to the other. Now, I kind of liked what I also kind of liked was I was a little scared the show was going to be kind of like Game of the Week kind of show where every character plays a different game, every 2 people come down, play game, pass judgment. I'm glad they didn't do it for that long. They gave it a little bit more of a twist in the later episodes. But I really like the characters. I mean, not just the main characters, but also learning about the side characters that go into this world. And you're just kind of fascinated by what's their past memories. And I kind of like how you get to reveal, it doesn't reveal all at once, you just kind of start noticing more stuff later. One episode I want to say I think it was the episode 8 and 9, where they have the detective and the murderer.
That is episode 8 and 9.
Yeah, episode 8 and 9. And that episode, those were good twists. I liked the whole twist on the whole characters, and I really liked how they keep, you keep going back and forth. You keep guessing, like, who's killed, the guy turned out, the detective turned out to be pretty much psychotic at the end, but I really enjoyed its premise and how it described itself and how they do the judgments and what goes out after they go to the elevators, because that was always an explanation I always wanted from the death billiards. So, like, what happened? Which I liked overall. I thought, like I said, that was the best. And then, again, I won't spoil the ending or anything, but it had a bittersweet ending, I thought. Even if I felt the show could have lasted another additional 12 episodes. But it was a great premise. I mean, the show had great characters. The opening, gosh, I can't kid you not, I love that opening. And, that probably annoys you, Nate, when I keep saying everybody throw your hands up. That's just always cracks me up. Put your hands up. Yeah, I think it's a catchy song. You can't deny it. That opening is so brilliant. It's such a catchy little song. It's actually one of my favorite anime openings right now. And it's just such a cheerful, fun, I love it. Everything about it. But, like I said, the characters are fun. The episodes are all creative and different. And I like how they didn't just become just a cliquey episode of the week kind of game of the week kind of thing. And I really enjoyed seeing that and seeing this world build, around it and knowing the characters, not just the main characters, but the side characters as well who could introduce. So that's how I think.
Chris, what were some of the positives you took away from Death Parade?
Some of the positives, like I said, like, it started out kind of weak for me. Like, I think Andrew had said it kind of felt like a Saw, like, slasher film type deal. And also, like how Daniel said, I thought it was all going to be, like, a week-to-week episode where, like, just a different set of characters comes in, they play a game, and their fate's decided. And I thought, like, it started out that way, but it, like, gradually broke the mold, and it did a whole bunch of different things in each episode, particularly with the episodic characters, like, what they were thinking, what they were feeling, how they ended up getting to where they were at. Some later parts of the show, like Daniel mentioned, I love episodes 8 and 9, because it added a really good mystery to the cases. It kept you guessing, definitely. The last 5 episodes, I felt were, like, the best in the entire series, and they were really good. They kept me engrossed. They kept me wanting to see what happened next. Another aspect I really liked was the way that Decim and his partner, the black-haired woman, I guess we'll refer to her for right now, they played off each other really well. And I liked, like, the mystery behind her character and some of the, like, later mysteries they introduced behind the world that they inhabit and some of the questions that they raised. And, that's basically what I took away from it. It got a lot better as it went on, and, it became really, really good.
Andrew, what were some of the positives you took away from Death Parade?
Yeah, I thought, I really liked some of the characters they introduced and some of the games they had to play. For example, I really liked episodes, I think it's 6, which was Twister.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it was Twister, but they didn't refer to it by name.
It's Color Pad. Yeah, I liked that episode because it's just interesting, like, how often do you see Twister played in a bar? And I also really liked, like, other people have also said, episodes 8 and 9, I love murder mysteries, and those 2 episodes really did well for me. Also, if you're a dub watching person, the dub is pretty good from the bit I've seen. The actor for Decim does a really good job of pulling off his stoic voice.
And Sarah, do you have any positives?
Like I said, the episodic structure is handled really well because of all these characters that you don't really get to see for very long, but at the end they're just so well developed. But another thing I can add to that is that the other characters aren't just completely ignored. You still learn stuff about them throughout the entire series. I mean, the only other example I can think of would be Hellgirl, like how by the end of the first season, you know very little about these characters, particularly the girl, I forget her name because it's been so long since I watched it, but they present the possibility of this whole mystery, but it's never really explored at the end of the first season. But here, you get that and so much more, at the end of just 12 episodes. And I really like the layout of their whole world. You really get a sense that it really is just different floors, like, and each floor kind of represents like a different personality for the person of whoever occupies that area. Like, you know, I keep on forgetting character names, but Nona.
Yeah, okay, Nona, yes.
Okay, yeah, so
Yeah.
Nona's, her whole floor, like, her area is, like, all, like, open fields and stuff, and, like, just very inviting, and she kind of just wants to kind of explore the sense that I got, like, the whole idea of emotions and things, I just liked how all of their areas just complemented their personalities.
Alright, so I guess I'll go. Playing off some of my other cohorts, I also enjoy the world that Death Parade has built. I mean, it's not just the Quindecum, which, if this was an actual bar that existed, I would go to it on a normal basis. Because that place looks so inviting. I mean, the show is pretty dark and it screws with your head, but the color scheme for the Quindecum is just so relaxing. But it's not just the Quindecum that's part of it. I mean, you also had the various other floors that belong to the different arbiters, as they're called. Like, for example, you have Quinn's floor, which deals with the compression and organization of memories. That floor looks like a library, and it also has a vault, I believe. It had a giant stack of pouches of jewelry, because in this world, people's memories are represented by gems. And it also has a foundry where they go to compress memories. I also like Castra's floor that is just... It's essentially a large watchtower where she keeps track of everybody who dies in the world. She says about 7,000 per second. And I love how it's perpetually raining wine on the floor. I mean, talk about never going thirsty on the job. But then again, you would need a lot of wine because, you know, you're dealing with the fact that you're tracking everybody who dies. So yeah, I liked the world that it built. I also liked the soundtrack. What'd you guys think of the soundtrack?
That's pretty good.
I liked it. Really good.
Yeah, good.
The one thing I like about it is that whereas composers like, say, Yuki Kaijura or Hiroyuki Sawano go with the big, over-the-top histrionics, because, you know, you've got the Sawano drop and all that stuff, that where, you know, you get a big wall of noise for an epic scene. I noticed that Death Parade's soundtrack was surprisingly muted. Like, it didn't escalate when the tension escalated. It instead pulled back and was mostly silent, or only underscored the tension rather than emphasize it. And I think that's what made the more emotional scenes so effective. The music didn't go over the top. It simply stayed where it was because it let the actors or the characters do the talking. One final note I had about it, I'm glad that I too was worried that the show was going to turn into another, you know, game of the week sort of thing, but I was glad to see that that fear would be quelched. But one thing I noticed when I rewatched it with friends, each episode when they play a game is entirely different in tone. Because the first episode, where they play darts, that's a very emotionally intense episode. It's very much akin to a soap opera, if anything. But in the third episode, the bowling one, that's a more romantic and laid back episode. The one where we first see Ginty's life as an arbiter and the introduction of Mayu, that's a comedic one. The air hockey episode is, as Daniel said, it's a murder mystery, and it's the most gray of all the episodes in terms of its morality, but I won't get into the details of it. And the final game they play, Old Maid, there's no real strings attached to it. It's just a nice, relaxing card game.
That was one of the bittersweet episodes. I love that episode. It got me teary-eyed. I got teary-eyed when I saw the picture of the old man, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I got a teary-eyed. I got a little emotional.
But that's it for me. Do we have anything that we can add to our positives?
I can't really think of anything.
Oh, I know one that I like. I liked the whole storybook idea that they introduced early on.
Chavo!
How it kept popping up through the different episodes, and how it actually had kind of a deeper meaning for some of the characters and stuff, and I like that aspect behind it. That was like one little quirky thing that I liked.
Alrighty, anyone else?
Yep.
No, I think we're good.
Actually, I have one more thing to add. I know a lot of us are going to say that we really loved the ending and all that stuff, but I have to say what I loved the most about the ending was that it felt complete. The finale felt as if Death Parade had told all that it had to tell in terms of the story of the Arbiters and the world they inhabited. Yes, by the end of the series, it's likely they'll all go back to the status quo, but you could tell, especially in the final scene, that everything has changed. Not externally, but internally, especially for Decim. I mean, a lot of people are saying that, the show needs another season. I don't think it needs another season, because what can you do after all this? I mean, maybe a prequel, but I don't think that the show needs a sequel. But that's all of my positives, so, let's get into the stuff that the show could have done better. Daniel, you go first.
The one thing I can really say that really got under my skin a little bit for the show was the character Oculus. And he's the alleged god who spends time, the old man. And I wanted to know more, especially there was a couple scenes towards the end of the show where he kind of he seems kind of very mischievous, and some of the things they kind of build up like there's something about him, but they didn't build anything at the end of the show. And I was kind of like, well, that kind of sucks, because I wanted to know a little more about him, because he was very mysterious. And there was a couple scenes in the later episodes where I forget the character, Clavis, where he kind of interacted with him. I know you guys are familiar with the scene, right?
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, I know the scene you're talking about.
Yeah, it just kind of when I saw that the first time, I'm like, something's with Oculus. What's going on? And I wanted to know more, but then the show ended, and I was like, well, they kind of just didn't explain that scene. And I kind of was like, I kind of wanted to see his character to be more developed, or more of his motivations. And I guess that was my only disappointment. And just knowing, a little bit more with that character a lot. And I was just I wanted more. But, for what they did, it was alright. But that was just the one thing that really got under my skin.
Okay, Andrew, what were some of your negatives?
I don't have that many. Like I said, some of the games might be a bit intense for some people that can't take, hurts to parts of your body that shouldn't be hurt. That might be a bit gut-wrenching for some people. It was only for me in the first episode. It went away after that. And like Daniel said, Oculus was not developed enough. It kind of felt like maybe they had a time cut or something, and they had to cut some stuff, maybe. But there's not a lot that I didn't like about it.
Okay, Chris, what were some of your negatives?
One thing, it's been brought up already, some of the characters, aside from, maybe 2 or 3 of them, while they have a a distinct, like, character design or, like, a presence somewhat. Like, I felt like a lot of them just had, like, little to no development or anything going on for them. Like, I think it was, like Daniel said, Oculus was one, and then there's a bunch of other side characters that are maybe in, like, 2 or 3 episodes, and while, like, I'm intrigued to know more about them, we basically got nothing on them. Aside from, like, the main character Deckham and his partner, the black-haired woman, and possibly like Nona. The others just felt like complete like blank slates to me, aside from a few like quirks and things like that along the way. And I thought that they could have like added a little bit more, because we get so much for the episodic characters. Like we get to see them through their memories and how like these games are affecting them and stuff like that. And like the arbiters and the people that reside within the Quinn Deckham like sort of area, we don't get too much from them, which I understand because of the length of the series. And like arbiters are essentially supposed to be like blank slates basically, and they're supposed to judge like these games like unclouded and things like that. But that was one negative I had. And I felt like the series, like for me, didn't start really kicking it into high gear and making me want to like keep watching and pay attention till around episode 5, which I think is kind of not a good thing, since the series is only 12 episodes. So I wanted like a little bit more like stuff to grab onto in the earlier episodes, even though like they were enjoyable. But that's about all the negatives I can think of. Just some more background information too. But that's basically it.
Okay, Sarah, what were some of your negatives?
I feel like it goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about so far with this problem with developing minor characters. I felt like I didn't get a clear definition of what the Arbiters considered to be a lack of human emotion. Because a lot of them clearly expressed emotion, or at least had some idea of emotion. Like, Ginty, he seemed very angry all the time. Clearly had some great hostility towards humans. And that's how he's not entirely developed, because you don't know why exactly he would feel this way towards humans. And, there's others that are happy, or at least they act happy, and they keep on emphasizing how the Arbiters don't have emotion, but they do. So what to them is not having emotion?
Alright, so I guess I should give my negatives, and I will agree that while both the black-haired woman and Deckham are given great amounts of development, I felt that the supporting cast of the Quinn Deckham itself is, lacking. I will say this, I'll defend Ginty's little subplot that he had with Mayu, because it at least shows off how his view of humanity differs from that of Deckham, and how he makes judgments versus Deckham. But others like Castra, Quinn, Nona to an extent, and Clavis and Oculus, they just felt like they were kind of there. But I'll say this, at least unlike some other anime that I've watched, they at least have presence. Like, when they show up, you're like, oh, hey, it's that character from earlier. Or, oh, cool. And you at least know what they do. You at least get some semblance of their personality. Quinn loves to drink and is rather happy-go-lucky. Castra probably is the least personality. The most I got out of her was that she was perpetually stressed. Nona is mysterious and somewhat alluring. Clavis keeps a straight face. Clavis came off sort of as a confidant to me. Like, he was there to keep secrets among the Arbiters to himself. And, as Daniel said, Oculus was God. He was the old man as such. That said, the human characters, though, their arcs were very well handled, and they had definable personalities. If there's any other negatives I can think of... And to answer your criticism, Sarah, of why the Arbiters have emotions even though they say they can't feel human emotions, I'd like to think that because the Arbiters themselves are not human, they may have a base personality. Some may be depressed, some may be cheerful, some sadistic, others restrained. they cannot personally feel emotion. They have emotions, but they can't feel them, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, I think that's what I was kind of get at when I said that they can project them, because I wasn't sure if they actually felt them or if it was just them expressing them but maybe not feeling them. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Okay, before we give our final thoughts, I'd like to ask, what were some of your favorite scenes? Daniel, go first.
Besides the murder mystery in episodes 8 and 9, one scene besides episode 10, which is the storyteller episode, which is them playing Old Maid, which I thought was bittersweet. But my personal favorite scene, it's kind of sad and twisted in a weird way. It's episode 4, Death Arcade, where the celebrity is celebrity.
Yes, I love that episode.
There's a scene where they're playing the arcade, and it's the TV celebrity against this suicidal kid, and
he was an otaku.
Yeah, the otaku kid. They're battling it out, and one scene in particular, they use the final move, and it's kind of, and one of the moves was the celebrity mom was having her kids beat this guy up, and the problem was it was ineffective, and it kind of made me laugh. It's most sadistic and so twisted. That's what I love about Death Parade. It shows you how effective it was when they had her kids as a special attack move to attack the otaku guy, and it was not effective at all.
They just walk away.
That was the best part. I thought that was the funniest scene. I mean, it was sad, but at the same time, it was very interesting. But yeah, that whole judgment, I thought that was a good episode, my general. But that scene particularly, I kind of giddy at it, but it's kind of amusing. And like I said, other people are saying like episode 6, which was the Twister episode. The Twister episode. That ending after the whole judgment thing goes through, and she stays on with the bar guy Ginty, yeah. And they're doing the karaoke at the end. I thought that was hilarious.
I just love how Decim and Chiyuki give him smattering applause.
Yeah, I thought that was great. So yeah, that's those favorite moments, but that one particularly, episode 4.
Andrew, your thoughts?
Like I've said already, my favorite episodes were 6, 8, and 9, because they provided a lot. For 6 provided a bit lighter mood compared to the other episodes. Then, like I've said, also murder mysteries are something I really like. So 8 and 9 were catering directly to me.
So your favorites were episodes 8 and 9.
Yes.
All right, Chris, your favorite scene?
Basically any scene involving the black-haired woman later on. I liked the scene in episode 6 at the end of the game, like the Twister game. There was like a twist with the 2 participants in that game that I thought was kind of cool how it ended that way. Yeah, any scene with the black-haired woman later on in the later episodes, and that's basically it.
Okay, Sarah, your favorite scenes?
Okay, so my favorite scene would be like mostly the scenes at the end of the last episode. But since we're not going into spoiler territory, I guess I would have to choose the scenes where Nona and his name is Oculus.
Oculus, yes, because he wears glasses. Get it?
Yeah.
Ah.
are playing billiards. When they're playing billiards together, because like we've said before that Oculus gets so few scenes, and just seeing them together, like, I mean, this is the first time you get like a sense of like kind of like a scheme going on, like this whole power struggle, and are they playing with like actual planets? Like, is there actual like?
They're playing with miniature. Yeah, they're playing with miniature planets, and Pluto is not one of them.
So it's kind of like they're playing with actual lives in the balance. So I find that whole aspect so interesting. And yeah, that's all I really have to say, because those scenes are just so short, but they say so much.
Alright, I guess I should get on with my scene, and I think all of you know which one I'm going to say. I'll try to keep this is kind of spoilery, but episode 11, the ice skating scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If that sequence does not get scene of the year, I don't know what does, because that whole scene is just utter perfection. It is amazing to me how they were able to just drum up so much emotion in just 4 minutes screen time with virtually no dialogue. The only other anime I've watched that has been effectively able to do that is Interstellar 5555. But that whole scene and how it ended, my jaw was on the floor by the end. And then, of course, there was the climax of the episode afterwards, which I'll say nothing about, but the statements that it made about life really resonated with me. And it's something I'll get into, because I do plan on doing a Death Parade panel. But those are my favorite scenes. Of course, I do have to mention the stinger at the end of episode 6 where Mayu and Harada come out as their own little idol group and they have everyone watching. It's a cute moment. Oh, one last little thing I want to mention. Also, this is a scene that I don't really see any people talk about, but it's just a nice little moment of character interaction. The scene where the black-haired woman makes Decim a sandwich. And I'm not I'm not saying that to be sexist, woman, get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich.
I know was that episode the end of the show, wasn't it? Towards the later episode, like last episode?
It's in some of the later episodes, yes. Yeah, it just shows the black-haired woman that even though she's seen some horrible things going on in her time with Decim, she still cares for him all the same. It's a scene that helps grow the bond between those two characters. It's brief, it's simple, and it doesn't have to be anything more than what it is, but it works very well. So, I guess that's it for our thoughts on Death Parade. Do we have any final thoughts? Daniel.
Overall, the show is really good. I mean, I would love, when it gets released, I might pick it up. Because I really think it's worth checking out. And I want to check. See, when I followed the streaming, and I didn't follow in the English dub with it, I just followed the Japanese, but from what people told me, the English dub was really good.
Oh, that's one last question. Did anyone here besides me watch the dub?
No.
Chris? Andrew?
I watched pieces of it, but since I watched it when it was coming out, that was before the simuldub got announced.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess I should say, yes, the dub is as good as you heard it is. Alex Organ is great as Decim, fully capturing his emotionlessness, even at times in the early episodes where Decim could possibly show emotions. He doesn't. And I think that's what makes Alex Organ's performance in this dub so impressive. It's not when he shows his emotions, but when he doesn't show his emotions that makes it such a great performance. But I can't talk about the dub without talking about my favorite actress in all of anime. Jamie Marchi is fantastic as the black-haired woman. Early on, she plays her perfectly, but it's in the last few episodes that reminds me why I love Jamie Marchi so much as an actress. You really need to watch her performance just to see how great an actress she is. There's plenty of other Funimation names in this dub that you'll recognize. Jade Saxton, who you'll know as Ayumu in Is This a Zombie? Oh, wait, no, it's Haruna she played. I believe it was... Yeah. Jade Saxton, who you'll know as Haruna in Is This a Zombie, plays Nona. Robert McCullum, he plays Ginty. And some of the guests at the Quindecum, you'll hear the voices of Monica Rial and Todd Haberkorn, among many others. So that's it for me on the dub. Yeah, so back to final thoughts. Chris, your final thoughts.
For me personally, I ended up really liking the show, and I would recommend it to people. It's not my all-time favorite show, like, ever, but it's definitely somewhere, like, top 100, definitely somewhere. I thought it was really enjoyable, I really liked it. It has outstanding animation, it gets really good later on. The voice acting from the Japanese track is really good. I haven't seen the dub. I like the music. It's overall a really, really good show, and I ended up really liking it. And like I said, it's the first show I've watched from start to finish streaming, so... I mean, I'll probably buy it at some point, too, so...
I hope Funimation releases a collector's item, like, edition. I like when, I would like to see that.
Andrew, your final thoughts?
When the show comes out on DVD, I will buy it sometime, because it's really good, and this is, like, my thing for DVDs is, if I like the show, I'll buy it to support whoever owns it and stuff, and since this was a good show, and I think it's easier for me, like, say I have someone over, it's easier for me to just put in a Blu-ray or a DVD, and we could watch it that way instead of me having to dig out my computer or hook it up to the TV and open up Hulu or Funimation or whichever. And also, if they come out with, if like a fan, like a Dojin Circle or something makes those Planet Billiard balls, I will buy those. I don't even play billiards, and I want those. Those are cool.
I want to know how to handle Saturn. Saturn and Uranus.
Magic.
Science.
Sarah, do you have your final thoughts?
It's a fantastic show. Does it have its problems? Yes, but the good far outweighs the bad, and that is reason alone that not only should you buy it, but you must buy it. I will definitely buy it when it comes out. I will buy it on Blu-ray because I watched it on Funimation.com free, and I feel like I owe it to the show to get it in the full HD. And I like this so much that I am disappointed that there is not a manga, because now I want to read it.
I've seen some pretty cool fan art, if anything. Just go on to Pinterest or Pixiv. You'll find plenty of good stuff. Anyway, my final thoughts. There's been a lot of good anime this year, but Death Parade, for my money's worth, is my pick for anime of the year. Although, I've yet to see Charlotte, which a lot of the fans are saying is anime of the year, because, Key and all. But I am interested to see whether or not Death Parade remains my favorite anime of the year, because right now, it doesn't really have that much in the way of competition. I mean, I'm liking Monster Musume so far, but, comparing Monster Musume to Death Parade, it's like comparing a film by Michael Bay to, I don't know, a film by...
Werner Herzog.
Yeah, Werner Herzog, exactly. Thanks for putting words in my mouth, Danny.
You're welcome.
I really hope that Funimation does do a very nice collector's edition for it. Have you seen what the Japanese box set looks like?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I hope they do that sort of release for it, because it deserves that kind of release.
I want it.
I want it just for the soundtrack. But yes, Death Parade, great series. Definitely a must-watch, sub or dub. It's enjoyable. It's great. It's dark. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you cry. More the latter than the former. But most of all, it's a complete show. It's got a definitive beginning, middle, and ending. There's no cliffhanger ending or, oh, we want to make more of this, but, you gotta buy the DVDs to make sure that we can get our second season. Death Parade tells a story that is complete. And that is all I have to say about that.
Nice Forrest Gump reference.
Actually, that was indirect.
That's all I have to say about that.
Okay, so I guess that's it for now. Until then, I am Otaku Nate Milbank, and with me are my co-hosts.
And the man signing out.
Andrew.
Sarah?
Chris?
And we're signing off and saying, everybody, put
your hands up, flying.
I don't know the words.
I have the lyrics in front of me.
Good night, everybody.